Good afternoon, sir. You are audible.
So guys, code I uploaded here on the same place, the first half code. So now we are on the second half stage. So before starting this code, uh, I just want to communicate the exercise because most of have the doubts about the exercise on music app. So I just want to reiterate the things so you understand what we need to do exactly on the music app. It is hugely inspired from the Giphy app we have done. It means we have done for the accessing the images from the Giphy API. The same thing we need to do it with the iTunes. The point is you need to consume the things from iTunes web API. So this is the website you need to go. It does not provide you an API key. So it is pretty much easier to compare to a Giphy API, but because in the Giphy API you need to register it, then it will give you an API key, then you need to use that key, right? But it is pretty much easier one. So if you just go to this iTunes, so iTunes is basically when you go to this website, in this iTunes, if I just keep scrolling it, it is exposing its endpoint. So this is the endpoint of this, right? So it is exposing itunesapi.com. So it has a variety of the things. So for example, if I am going to use iTunes API search Jack plus Jack Johnson plus limit equals to 25. So it means it is saying it is giving a artist name is Jack Johnson and the limit is 25 records it is going to give, right? So whenever you click it, it will get downloaded. It is a by default, it is doing it. So we need to call this URL, and this URL is going to give the JSON. So that JSON you need to consume it in fetch. So you need to build a React application on this. So for example, I'm saying I want to limit this record, and suppose I am asking the songs of Sonu Nigam. I think Nigam is like this. So it will give this, and so instead of, I think I will ask for Kumar Sanu. Is it? I don't know. I'm read this one, right? So if you just say Kumar Sanu songs, it is giving, and this is the JSON it is giving. So if we just see this JSON closely, so the best way is to see this JSON is, so I just copy this thing and go to the Postman. I am recommending go to the Postman, right? And from the Postman thing, just go. So this is the first thing you need to do. So just go to this Postman and paste this URL, choose get, send. So it will give you the JSON, right? So right now, like it is giving some Sonu Nigam songs. So how you identify? There would be, let's say, these are the records, 10 records are coming up. So if I just go to result count rappers and I'm looking for a song which they provide. So there is a track, artist view URL, collection view URL, track view URL. So it does not have preview URL. If you just see, so this one is MP4A. Right? So if I click on this and I just copy this thing and go to the browser and search for this URL. I hope everyone understands this thing. So it is giving what? It is giving this URL. Makes sense? I hope. So the point is you need to consume this first of all and find it out, like I find it out. This is because MP4A is the extension is coming up. So I figured out this URL, it means when I hit this, so it will give you a MP4A thing. So I just go back here. So same, I mean, this is for a first record preview URL. So it means this is for the second record. Makes sense. And it is for the third record. it is for the fourth record, it is for the fifth record. It means it, and plus also it has some preview URL. So even you can do Control F and search for preview URL. So you need to consume this preview URL. But the point is, this preview URL must be consumed in audio tag. So what I am trying to convince you guys, that is, this is the default player given by this by the browser. So but you need to build a player. So the point is HTML5 audio tag you need to use. Like we use image tag for images, we use HTML tag, right? So let's say we go to this and it has this audio and it has the sources, right? So it is saying sources. And if we go to this try it yourself, so it is saying it has, let's say, some horse song it has, right? So horse voice it has, right? So if you want to change it, so we need to specify the URL first of all. So the first thing is URL, plus we need to specify our audio is of which type. If it is of audio of MP4A type, right? So we need to identify the MP4A type is for, so I will specify audio MP4A for HTML5 audio. So it will suggest us which audio format we need to use, right, for HTML5. So if we just go to this website and let's say it will support audio/MP4A, right? So audio/MP4, it is suggesting this thing. So if I copy this and go back to this section, so I'm just telling you how this URL will work. So instead of this, I will just simply say audio/MP4. Make sense? So I just cross-check this thing, MP4A with HTML5. It use MP4, right? The format. So some of the browsers use XMP4. So MP4 will work, probably. And this source I don't need. Makes sense? And this SRC contain what? This SRC contain the URL. So this is the tag to specify in your code. This part would be get dynamic. You already know, right? So like it is providing MP4 or MP4A. So we'll try it out first of all. So I just do run, right? I just run and then I hope everyone understands this thing. So now this portion of code will work. So now the point is you need to use this audio tag. That's the first thing. Right, and you borrow the URL from where? You need to borrow the URL from the right. You need to borrow the URL from the backend stuff. Ritik is asking, it's our wish in which we have to play, right? So it means it will create a lot of things because we have 10, right? So for 10, it is going to play. Makes sense? I hope everyone understands this thing, right? So the point to be remember, guys, that is you need to create audio tag and it is must be on a multiple time, right? So again, it is fun to build this stuff and it is also good to showcase. Now the point to be remember, guys, the design is more precise like we have done it for the for your image search engine, right? So we have done for the search engine stuff, that is for the image. So Ritik is saying how use autoplay in this tag, just an autoplay thing, right? That's an autoplay. Makes sense. So it means you need to specify something called autoplay. There is an attribute. I think autoplay equal to something. I think autoplay. It is something like this. Autoplay something. Is it or not? I just check out. Auto HTML5 audio autoplay. So there is a sub attribute. I think autoplay or something else. Like Satish saying autoplay true, might be. So auto load, there are plenty of attributes they have specified based on the OS. So I just verify one more time. HTML5 auto, because it's based on API, so you need to remember it. Source. Autoplay it is suggesting. React it is autoplay. Autoplay loop. So I am writing what? Loop means it is just a repetition. It means if I use the loop, so it means it is repetition. So I written here wrongly. I need to return it here. Makes sense. So only the autoplay I need to specify. I hope everyone understand. So if Ritik, you want to play the song automatically, so there is an autoplay already. I just specify in a source tag because I had not see. I'm writing it here. So audio autoplay I need to specify. That's it. Make sense? So the point is, guys, we need to fetch the songs. We know how to fetch it. Fetch is a thing, promise we need to use. So the pointer is basically you need to create a search bar, and you know this thing, create a component, right? And if any confusion, so I am recommending see the video of Giphy, right? So list component you need to create. So list will create list of songs based on the search. So it means if you search for Sonu Nigam song will be come. If we search for Kumar Sanu song will be come, right? So based on it, it will show the list, and list shows the player, right? That is the audio. I already showed you audio, and audio has a song, and when you click on this, it will be get played. Makes sense? So it is pretty much easy. So this is your assignment I already given, and you need to complete this assignment as soon as possible. So you need to submit this because your certificate or rest of the things depends on this. Makes sense? But the point is because you actually whatever you are learning here is mean for your bread and butter. I hope everyone understand this thing, because it is not part of your college curriculum, and college arrange this kind of activities. Basically it's for your bread and butter. Most of the students are asking to me for job perspective what I need to do. I'm always suggesting just create a skill on yourself. It means if you're skilled enough, you have a job. That's a pretty much easier thing. If you do not have skill, then job is not for you, right? So it is just a skill set making. You are making your skill set on full stack development, right? So if you have full stack skill, I mean, you know how to build a project, you have the job. Because if bottom line, no one student is asking what I want to do. Everyone is asking for the package. So I am just saying, I always ask for what I am doing in the company. If you know what I am doing in a company, you already have a package. Make sense? So if you know what is my role, what I need to do in a company, make sense? So you always have a good package. So always work on these kind of stuff. It means if assignment is given, so don't think like it's an assignment. It's like a small application is given to you, and this is a milestone for your career, because if you are able to build small applications, so anyway you are able to work in a company for a bigger project, right? So corporate environment is entirely different, guys. College environment is entirely different. So if you work on a corporate, they want an outcome, right? So it means if they assign something, they want an outcome. Not there, you would not be get treated well in a corporate world. So if you want to be a well treated in a corporate world, that is a most important aspect. So it means if you're not treated good by your colleagues or by your seniors because you have lack of skills, then you know the pain, right? So that's why it means build your skills. That is super important for you, right? So it means attendance or assignments or tests, these are basically just a formalities for all of you. If you actually work on your skills, these formalities automatically get completed. Because if your focus is a skill, right? So I hope everyone knows, because everyone want relaxation or easiest thing in a life, right? But life is not like this. But if you target, I mean, if you're learning a MERN stack and you are working hard on it, and you get bored or you don't want to do a lot of these stuff because the good stuff is to play a PUBG or to watch a movie on Netflix, these kind of things are relaxation stuff, and that would not hamper our mind, that will cool down our mind, because that's the nature of a human, right? But if you want to work hard, the best point is you align your things with a goal. You align your things with a goal. So if you have a goal, you can work it. Make I hope everyone understands. So it means if the assignment is aligned with a goal, so your goal is to become full stack developer, so that is just a part of your journey, right? I hope everyone understand. That's why the attendance thing or rest of the things is nothing else for you. So moving back, so later, sooner or later, you will understand this thing when you move to the corporate world somehow. So now I am talking about how to play only single at a time. Just it has a predefined method called dot play. So if you have an object of audio tag, because you are going to create multiple audio objects, so you have dot play method. So it means when you click on a button, you will dot play. Make sense? So Satish already worked on this Giphy one, right? So Satish, you need to use the same functionality of Giphy with this iTunes. I hope everyone understand what we are going to create this music app, right? And still it does not have any backend stuff. So backend stuff you can create it by using Node. So moving to the next segment, guys. Okay, Satish also done with the music. Good, Satish. So you can even share your project to rest of the students, so they can have a glance of it, how you build it. You can even upload it on your Git account and share the Git URL with all of them. So it's pretty much same like a Giphy app, right? Now the point is, guys, we are moving to the Express thing. So we are going to learn the Express stuff first of all. So in this right now we have done something. So Satish is already shared this React media search app. So guys, you can note it down, this thing, and later on you can see this. Even anyone, if other guys are also created this thing, so keep sharing with it. So nothing will hamper. It means no one can copy your code, right? If anyone can copy your code, only that person can understand who have the knowledge, right? So don't worry about sharing your codes. Even my all codes are on a Git. So now I am here on this web application. In the web application, we have done some index login kind of stuff. Point is, in my application can have the login, can have the index stuff, can have the searching stuff, can have the rest of so many URLs. So if I have a lot of URLs, the best point is do not maintain all the URLs here, right? That is a bad way to maintain it, everything in here. Like for example, think about it. If you have app.post for register, think about it. If you have app.post for register, so you need to define it like this: request, comma, response, and this thing, right? So you need to define it like this. So the point is, you can have the register thing, you can have the change password option. Let's say change password. So you have another thing. So the point is, you can have multiple what. This is what register, what change password, what login, what. These all are basically the routes. These all are the routes. So my perception is, do not maintain all the routes in a one file, because this file will be get overloaded. Because in practical scenario, you can have 100 of routes, right? The 100 of routes means register is a one route, so it will do the registration stuff. It has a change password, it has a change password stuff. It has a login stuff, so it will do the login stuff. I hope guys you understand this thing. Now the point, to be clear guys, there is a register, change password, or login. These kind of things are basically become a routes. And routes, all the routes are not a part of a one place, part of a different place. So I just create a folder, that is, I just named it routes. So there is a folder called routes, and inside this routes, I just go here. Inside this route, I just go here and I create a user routes.js. So there is a file called user routes.js, right? So I just kept all the routes, these all routes. I just cut it down from here and I just paste it down here. Makes sense? So my all the routes belongs to the user, must be kept where? It must be kept inside the user routes. Now from here, I need to use a route. So I need to use specify first thing is const express equals to require express. So we use this require express here, right? And from this express, I will use a route. So they will provide something called const route. That's an important thing, const route, and they provide something called express.router. So it means now your routes are modular because you're divided into different modules. You are not putting everything in a one file, right? So it would be nonsense if you put everything in a one file. You cannot maintain it. That's why I just divide it. So routes folder is designated for all the routes, right? So from here, I just specify module dot actually exporting. So now the point is do not use app, use a word called route. So route. So it means we create a model route. I have the route, and in this module dot exports equal to route, I specify the route, and I just go back to this app.js. And in this app.js, I just specify app.use, and I specify / means start from the root. And in root, I will specify require, and this require specify / and there is something called routes, and inside the routes, I will specify user routes. Makes sense? It is now more cleaner code because now your routes is where? Your routes is now in your separate file. So the best part of this is, for example, you have another route, order.js. Suppose you have this order.js has some stuff, right? So I will say it has another routes feature. So I will say it has order related route. So I will say express same stuff, const route, and here I will say express dot router, and from here I will say route dot, let's say get method, for example. I want to see the orders. So order and then request, comma, response, and I just keep this copy, paste it. Let's say it has, let's say orders, and let's say the post is payment of the order. Let's say I have the order history. So these kind of routes I can have. Now at the end, I will say module dot exports equals to route. So now this is again a model route. I hope everyone understand this thing. So it has become a model route here. And now in this app.js, I will just keep copy this thing, paste it here, and here I will say order, and this is the name of route. It's order.js, right? So I just specify order. So it means user routes and order. You can keep it order routes as well as. So now the point is I have different routes which is actually differentiate. So the point is you can work with so many developers. You can work with so many developers. One of them is creating user routes, another is going to create the order route. Make sense? I hope everyone understand this point of view. Why I divided into different routes, and each route is doing their own sort of stuff. Right now, the point is one more point I want to highlight. Suppose, for example, this user routes and order route has the same functionality. Suppose I have a feature called, instead of registration, I have the feature called add. So it means it will add a user. The same sort of route would be present here. It is like it is an adding an order. So it means I am adding a user, I am adding an order. Both of them routes are the same. Both of them routes are same. Now the problem start. Now if I go in app.js, because I require both of them, user routes and order. So if I'm going to call something called add, right? If I'm going to call something called add, so which add will work? User route add will work, or order route will work. So for just to testing this thing, think about which will work. So I'm saying response dot send, and here I will say user route, right? And I just copy this thing, and I just paste it here in order, and I will say order route. So any guess, guys? Satish saying first one. Any other guess, guys? Which one will work first? I mean, if I am making a request, so which will give a response? And why? Which one? Any answer, guys? Nitish is saying error. Give a response. And we know when we talk to the server has a request and then it will give a response because the response is over. So that's why it would not go to the next thing. This is the point number one you need to remember. If the first one will give a response, so it would not go to the next one. Make sense? So if the first one is incapable, so the flow, how the flow is working, if you just find out the flow is basically it start from this public, right? Because you're serving the public files. So first of all, when you're saying /login, so login is not a part of public, right? Or add is not a part of public. So that's why it would not go inside this. Make sense? When it go to the user out, it will have the add. But the add does what? Add actually saying response.send. Now the problem is because we are writing response.send, so it will send a response to the client and the connection is closed. This is the point to be important, guys. You need to note down this thing. When the response is there, because response is send it down to the client. So the client, I mean the request, client make a request, server send a response. That's it. Connection is closed. That is the problem, right? That's why it would not go in the order. Make sense? So it means if I am writing here /order, so it will first look up the order here. If the order is not there, then it will go here. Make sense? So I will test all of this. So the point is, when I go to the routes order, I'm here in the routes order. This is the order. And here I am writing response.send. I am the order. Right? So I'm writing here, I am the order. So if I am running this by typing npm start, it is here. Now from here, I will say localhost 1234. It is showing this. Go to the login page. So it will, I am here in the login page. For example, if I am writing add, so if I am writing add, what happened? Okay. If I'm writing add, I know the reason why it is not working because I am writing add and it's a post request. Because it's a post request, so I need to just copy this thing, go back to the postman, and from the postman, I just paste this thing, make it post, and then make it send. So you will see the user out is coming because it sent the response. So it would not go to the order one, right? So that's why it would not go to the order one. So it means in order, it would not execute this thing. Make sense? I hope everyone understands this point. That is really important stuff. Now the point is, if I choose the order one, so if I choose the order one, just go back to the order, and then because it's a get request, choose get and send it. Now you will see I am the order. So it means it will first go to the user route. User route does not have anything called order. Make sense? User out does not have anything called order. That's why it would not work. I hope everyone understands this thing, guys. Now the question arises, if I want to use both of them, how I will work? I hope everyone understand this point. But if I want to use both of them add, is there any possibility to use? Yes, it has. The possibility is in app.js, if you specify something called /order. If you specify something called /order, so you are saying call the add but start with order. So it is like if I go here and I will say order/add. Now the point is it will work for it is order/add, but the thing is post. It is post one. So I send. So here you will see it is order out, but without order/add, it will work for user out. Make sense? So this is how I test this application. So it means I provide both of them. So it means if somebody provide you something called /order, so it means it has become a namespace. It has become a namespace. So it means I want to go to the order section, and from the order section, I'm looking for the add. I hope everyone understand this point. This is again very important perspective. Any question, guys, in your mind? Because these all small things are very, very important to build the application. So this is the basic terminology provided by the Express, right? So I am moving back. So far we have done how to create a modular route, how we can doing the modernization here, right? Now one more point I want to highlight in this: when we are building our application by using app.js, we are using 1234. 1234 is just a local port we have specified. This local port we have specified, that is 1234, is not pretty much good thing, because when I use this 1234 port number, so the pointer is it is entirely local. But if I want to run it on AWS, so AWS has their own port, right? Might be the 80 port, right? So it has their own port mechanism. So we will use the terminology called 1234, right? And before this, I will use something called process. Process means whatever the code is running. If you are running your server, it is a process, right? Running things is a process. And inside the process, I use a word called environment, and I use something called port. So what does it mean? I'm saying on what environment? I mean, if you're running on an AWS, or you're running on Heroku, or you're running on a Google Cloud, so it will pick the port of that cloud, right? So it means if it is running on an AWS, it will pick the AWS port. If it is not running on the AWS, so it will come in undefined. And you know, the OR operator is work like undefined is called false, right? Undefined is treated like a falsy. So it is treated like a falsy. It means it is treated as a false condition. So it will OR says if the first condition is false, so go for 1234. So it will set 1234 on local. So this is important point, guys. So it means if you are running on local, it will go to the 1234. But if you are running on some real cloud, if you deploy this application on a cloud, so it will work for this process.env.port. Make sense? I hope everyone understand this point, how this process.env.port is working. So that is a good practice to use process.env.port. I hope, guys, you understand this point. Make sense? Now the point is we are moving to some more important points of this, that is in user routes. If I just go to user route, or either in the order route, this kind of routes has another feature called route.all. So if you're not sure, your method will work for get or post for everything. So you have a choice of all. So I'm just showing you the permutation combinations of API they have provided. So they are saying, let's say I'm saying all, I just create a all URL just to give us name, right? And I just use request and response. This could be a small way also, because it's just a parameter. The first parameter is treated as a request. Second parameter is treated as a response, right? And from here, I just say response.send, I am the all, right? I'm saying I am the all. So if I just go to this place, and here, if I specify all, in case of post, it is working. If I do get, it will work. Make sense? So it means it has become an all. It means when you don't know your consumption of your route, that's why I'm using a word. If you don't know, your consumption of your route is either of get, or either of post, or either of put, or either of delete. These are the 4 HTTP methods. So if you don't sure, then you use all features. So there is a thing called all. Make sense? there is one more thing I want to highlight. They also support something called regex, regular expression, if you heard about this term. So it means if you not sure about the URL, because URL is like all or login are the fixed names. So if you are not sure about the URL, so you can specify slash, and then I specify something called, let's say I specify something called search, and I specify this thing. So when you use question mark makes the things optional. When you put a question mark makes the thing optional. So it means your E is become optional. Your E is become optional. It's not absolutely mandatory to write E. Makes sense? So if I want to make A again optional, so I just put question mark. So it has become an optional for me. So what does it mean? So I just go here and I will say request, comma response, and from here I will say response.send. I say search call. I say search call. Makes sense? And now if I go here and I will say search, it's a full name I specify. It is working. But if I forget to specify E, still this will work. Make sense? If I forget to use A, still it will work. Make sense? So they have provided something called regular expressions syntax. So you can specify these kind of syntaxes. I hope guys this makes sense. So it means the question mark is make your URL parameters as an optional. So there is another way of it. So I just keep commenting out it, right? So this is for just for your reference purpose. So I just commented out this thing, and from here I want to show you one more version, that is E plus. So plus means it's a greedy one, right? So when you use plus, so it means if you really don't know that E is coming how many times, right? E is coming how many times, so you use plus. So plus has become a greedy, right? So when I just use this plus option, the URL would be like search. This is okay, absolutely. And if you use E multiple times and search, it will work. Make sense? So that is a plus operator functionality. So this is again a regular expression. So if you just walk through on a Google regular expression, so it's a universal standard. So Node is following this standard for I'm saying Express is following this kind of standards with the URLs. Make sense? I hope everyone understands this thing. Another way of it is like we make it E as a greedy, right? So there is another thing. So I just copy this thing, comment it out just for your reference purpose. And here if I specify star. So when I use this thing search star, so it means your parameter, your URL will be start with search. It could be searches, anything, right? But it will call it. So through this way, you are actually giving a flexibility to the end user. If it has typo mistake, this will work. Make sense? So search will work, right? If I use searching, still this will work. Make sense? So this is the possibility of star. So I hope everyone understands this thing, how it is working with these kind of parameters. So they have provided something called regular expression. So model routing we cover the regular expression. We have covered the get post method. We have covered the all method, right? These all are absolutely needed for making some bigger sort of applications. Okay, one more thing, guys, I want to highlight. For example, in our application, because we have two routes, and we have in the routes, we have order, payment, order history, and user information also. For example, if I'm going to hit a route which is not present at all, if I hit a route which is not present at all, what will happen? So think about it. For example, if I'm going to write here this kind of route, it is saying cannot get. Makes sense? But if I do the same sort of stuff, on a Flipkart, right? I just go to the Flipkart and I just do this. Flipkart has this thing. Makes sense? What is the difference you will feel? Flipkart has what? And what is missing in our website? What is missing in our website? Any guess, guys? Our website is showing what? Our website is showing this thing that is localhost 1234, and if you put anything, it is showing cannot get. So the problem is it is showing actually the 404 error, right? 404 is basically, you know, this is a resource not found, file not found, this kind of thing. It actually not going to show this 404. That is a bad impact for the end user. Think about in the end user perspective, it is showing cannot get something. It is just the coding error, right? We don't want to show this coding error. So what we will do, we will go to the app.js, and we already know in app.js, it is actually falling from, I'm using a word, it is actually falling from the top. So it will first check, is this a part of the public? No. So check, is this a part of user out? No. It is check of this, right? So it means it is falling. That's why I'm using a word called it is doing a falling, right? So it is keep falling one after another, Makes sense? And once it fall to the public, not found, user out, not found, order out, not found, then it will hand it over to the Express. Express say 404. Makes sense? So that's why what I am going to use it. I just want to give you one most important aspect, that is when this route, user route is incapable to respond. When it is incapable, for example, if I type something, so it is incapable. So when it is incapable, so the pointer is it take the request first and it will give a response, but this response it cannot give because a URL is missing, so it would not give a response. So it has something called next, right? So remember, always a route always use something called request response next. So if it is not capable to do it, it will go to the next. So it is more like it is more like if you go to some office and if you talk to some clerk or some officer and that officer or clerk is not able to do this thing, so it will send it to the next one, right? So the next one will going to help it, right? So it is same like the next. So next is a function which will be called internally, it says I'm incapable to do it, so just hand it over to the order. If order is incapable, so it will call next. But in next nothing is there. That's why Express will give 404. So I know this thing. So what I will do at the end of every routes, right? I will use app.use and I will create my own function. This is called middleware. And I just use something called next, right? So next is always there. Remember this thing, next is always there, but we are not using it because we know we are going to send a response. If I'm not going to send a response, then I use a next. Make sense? If I'm not going to send a request, then I use a next. So the point is I use app.use request response next. And from here, I will say the response would be send as oops, you typed something wrong. Make sense? So it will say this thing. I hope everyone understands. Now the point is, instead of giving this kind of message, it will actually tell us this kind of message, right? User-friendly message. Make sense? We can also show some images as well as. So if I want to show some image on this, it is also possible. How? Now the question is how. If I want to show some images, so I just go to the public, and in public I will say error.html, and in this error.html I will say h1. Oops, something went wrong, right? This is the message will become. And from here I want to show some image, so like this, right? So just go here and you will just say here 404 error message, right? And go to the same image section, and like in Google it is showing like this, so it is just showing you some sample images, right? So let's say we are using this thing 404 page not found. No, it's not page not found, so I just copy image address. This is the image address I will copy and paste it here. So this image will be shown and this message will be coming. I hope everyone understands this thing. So the point is this app.js, which is going to show this message and plus with this image. But now the problem is we just go back to our app.js. Makes sense? This app.js is saying response.send. So instead of saying response.send, it must show the HTML file. Now the point is, if I use response. There is a thing called send file. this thing called send file, but send file need what? It need a path. Remember this thing, it need a path. So what is the path of this? So I just go and copy the path, and I will say const p for path, and I paste it. This is the path of my machine, right? And I specify p here, and let's test this out. I just go back here and I press enter. It is like this. I hope everyone understand this thing. But the problem is if I share this code with you, it would not work because this is the path of my machine. This is the path of my machine. But the thing is that the error.html is where? It is in my project. So this path is absolute path of my machine. And in my machine, I do not have C drive, D drive kind of stuff, right? But if you're using Windows environment, the path is different. If you're using a Linux environment, the path is different. So this is the problem. So I don't want to write these kind of codes. That is the important point, guys. I don't want to write these kind of codes because these kind of code the problem with these kind of code is it has some hard coded path. So if you are migrating to some server or AWS or these things, so it would not work because they will not provide you these kind of path. So that's why we need to use relative path instead of using the absolute path. So to use the relative path, we will use something called, there is a predefined module called path. So we will go to the path module, require path, right? So it will give a path, right? It means I'm not saying it will give a path. It will actually manipulating the path, right? So where I am right now in my code, where I'm in the app.js, makes sense? So how I can figure it out where I am? There is a predefined thing called _ dir name. So if I use _ dir name, I am here, right? So I just want to show you current dir is comma _ dir name. Makes sense? So current dir name is, I just show you what is p. P is not there, na? So send file I just commented out right now. I just want to show you only the outcome. So I'm doing refresh. It is keep moving because I'm not sending it. But the point is current directory give what? It will give a web app. Makes sense? So app.js is where? Inside the web app. I hope everyone understand. And now where I need to go? I need to go to the public. I need to go to the public. So what I will do? I use something called path, and path has predefined function called join. And in join, I will specify dir name, current directory name, comma. I will specify the rest of the path. That is public. So that is a relative path. So this will work on your machine, right? And the path is error.html. So now it will give what? It will give a full path. It will give what? It will give full path. So this has become a full path. And at the end, what I will say, response.send file full path. Make sense? So this code will work on every machine. Make sense? I hope everyone understand. So during the interview, they will check these kind of codes. So now if I deploy to AWS or anywhere, it will work. So I hope everyone understand how we are actually creating a 404. So we have created a 404 thing. If something is get missed, so this will work. So these are some generic rule which you are going to use every time. I hope everyone understand. Now the point is, some moment of time we need the data which is coming from the get, because in login page, if we are on a login page, login we have consumed it here in user outs. And when you consume login, you are actually consuming by request.body. So this is actually coming from the post, right? But if somehow your request is coming from get, let's think about it. If something is coming from the get, for example, you have this order.js. I want to see the order. What is the order number I have? So can I have, think about it. Can I have in index.html, can I have the order details? Right. So this is just a simulation, guys. So in this, I'm saying I'm just want to see the order details. So I will say a tag, and inside I will just write this thing order. Right. So I want to see the order, and to see the order, I will just say order, because if you just go to the app.js, you will see the word called order, right? And if you just go to the order, there is this thing called order, right? I just say this name order details, so it would not get confused. So this is order details. Makes sense? Now this the point is in my index.html file, I will use order/order details, right? Now the order number I want to send. This is the important thing. I want to send the order number. So the way out is question mark ID, and this is, let's say this one is your order number. This is your order number. Now you want to pick this value. Now you want to read this value. So this value is primarily, if you heard about the thing when we are on a google.com and I'm looking for, let's say, BMW car. I just give you already this example. And in this example, if you just see, I just move down this thing so I can able to see. So from here, if we just question mark, and there is something called queue, right? This queue is what? That's a query. And this query is a part of the URL. And URL part is basically coming from the get. We already know. And you want to read the value which is coming from the get. So from here, there is something called queue, right? It's a huge value it is coming. So there is something called queue. So I just copy this thing instead of it's taking a lot of time. So I will say this one, and in queue this one, right? This one. So here I will change it, like say Audi car, and I just copy this and I just paste it. So now it would not change. Audi copy paste it, right? So it will be searching for this. I hope everyone understand. Now the point is, it means Google read the get parameter. This is the important point I want to suggest to. It means Google read get parameter, right? We want our application also work on get parameter. It is only right now working on post parameter. Make sense? Ritik is saying we can set anything like offline games. Of course, anything. If you want to set offline games is based on some sort of either Flash player, or if you don't want to use Flash player, then the answer is HTML5 canvas. So you can use HTML5 canvas for building a game, and then because HTML5 is using canvas and its name says it's an HTML, so at the end it's an HTML page. Makes sense? So it means you're sending what? You're sending to what? You're sending to HTML page. Error.html is at the end is HTML page. So either you embed HTML canvas on it, or either you embed Flash on it. At the end, you're actually landing up to where? You're landing to some HTML page. Makes sense? In case of Google saying when there is no internet, so Google is using Chrome functionality. So they are not. It is not landing to some HTML page. But if you want, your developer will be landing to some HTML page if 404 is coming up. So you need to create either on a canvas, HTML5 canvas, or either Flash thing, right? So now the point is, guys, we are on this order details. We have this ID, and because we have this ID, so we are here. Now the point is how I can retrieve this ID. To retrieve this ID, I will say here, I am the order plus, or I will specify request dot query dot and the name of the field. So the name of the field is what? ID, right? It's an ID. So we are retrieving what? We are retrieving dot ID. So you need to remember, the point to be remember is when the request is coming through a post. This is the important point. When the request is coming through a post, the answer is request.body. Make sense? But if the request is coming through a get, the answer is request.query. This is, you need to remember, guys, right? So I save this code and I'm moving back to this section, and from here I just specify localhost 1234. I am here. I click on this order. You will see order ID, and it will receive the ID. Make sense? It will receive the ID. I hope everyone understand this thing. So this is a second way to read the parameter. So this is really important stuff. Otherwise, you cannot handle the parameter. What sort of parameter you will receive? So Google is using question mark, and you already know Google is using question mark. So you see this search question mark. Our is order detail question mark. it has plenty of parameters. We have only one parameter. So if I want to send multiple parameters, is it possible? Yes. So if you want to send multiple parameters, just go on index.html, use ampersand and name of the order, a order. Let's say this is the name of an order. So ampersand is basically to add another parameter. So another parameter name is name. So id is one parameter name. It's a one parameter name. It's another parameter. How you will retrieve both of them? Request dot query dot id. This is for id, and for name it is request dot query dot name. Make sense? So through this way you can retrieve. So let's try this thing. So go back to the order.js, request.query.id, and here you will say name is plus request.query.name. And if you move back to this segment, and if you specify two parameters, or let's say I just go back because here I already specified parameters. So if I click on order, why it is saying name is undefined? I think page is not refreshed. I think that is a problem. The page is not refreshed because I also check, is I save the page? Is I save the code also? Yep. And if I refresh it, I click on order, here it is, right? So name order, and it is receiving it. So that's a second way of reading the parameter. I hope everyone understands this thing, how you can retrieve the get thing, right? Now there is another point I want to highlight. So we are sending what? We are sending two kind of response. One is the hard-coded one, this kind of response. There is, if you see, this is a dynamic one because you are attaching the variable it. And you also see there is another response you are sending out, that is response.sendFile in app.js. So another kind of response you already taken care, that is response.sendFile. Now, if suppose I am going to send a response in format of JSON, if I want to send some JSON response, is this possible? Yes, of course. So I can send it. So just go to the user routes, and if you want to mature this thing, this route.post, I don't want to send this kind of response. I want to send a response like this, response.json. So this is also possible. So what I will do is, I don't want to pollute this, so I just copy this stuff. So we will use the same stuff with React, because React anyway understand the JSON. So we will use login, and I just say React login. Makes sense? Just to clarify, to have a difference between this. So React login, same stuff. Only the point is, instead of using this responses, I will use the method. There is a predefined method called response.json. And in this response.json, I will say I have the message, and the message is welcome plus user ID, right? And the same story here. Copy this thing. So it means you are giving what? You are giving a JSON. So it is acting like a web service for you. It is acting like a web service for you. So invalid user ID or password. I hope everyone understands this thing. So it is saying invalid user ID or password. So let's try this out. Is this thing is working? Is this giving a JSON to us? Because we are passing what? We are passing object. We are not passing JSON, because JSON is in double quotes. It will does automatically. It will convert it automatically. So just move back to the Postman. In the Postman area, just paste this React login. Go to the post section, right? Now in the post section, I want to send it because I do not have the page right now, because React has a page. So what I will do, I just go to the post section, and here is a section called body. This is the request body. So in the request body, I have, let's say I have something called user ID. It is coming up here, and it has something called password. So here it is, the password I want to set, or I want to set Amit, and the password is go inside the PWD, right? Send it. You will see welcome Amit. So it is giving what? It is giving JSON, and it is coming inside in a double quotes. Make sense? If I pass a wrong password, right? So then I click on send. It will show this thing. So the most important point is, if you want to test it with the Postman, because your React thing is not yet created, right? Because React will send the JSON data. Make sense? So what we'll do, we go to the body section. and raw and choose JSON. Important point is I choose JSON and I create a JSON. I type a JSON here because it is somewhere else I show the demo. So it is pick up the same thing. And then if I do the send, so it will show you this kind of messages. I hope everyone understand. So it means we are ready. It means our Express is ready to talk to the React.js. I hope everyone understand this thing. So just to conclude the things right now, what we have learned, we understand our Express is giving what? Our Express is giving a JSON. Response.json is a new method for us, which is giving a JSON. So it means whatever the object will pass, it will giving a JSON. We can receive a JSON, we already see. We receive the JSON because why? We receive the JSON. The answer is we receive the JSON based on that is app.js go to something called this link body parser, right? So body parser.url encoded body parser.json. This actually when you specify body parser.url encoded body parser.json, it will give you the JSON, right? So it means it will parse the JSON. The correct word is it is actually parsing the JSON. So this parse JSON, right? This is a responsibility, or this parse URL encoded string. So it is best fitted. This thing is best fitted when you're talking with a React. So when you're talking with a React, it will parse the JSON. Now, what we'll do, we can connect React and Express together. So the point is, our application is moving on this side. We have on the front end side, we have the React. On a back end side, we have the Express, right? And both are ready to talk. Both are ready to talk. So they will talk. And at the end, I will connect what? I will connect database, right? And in Express, if you just see, I use path module, I use module.export, I use require. So it means Express and Node.js is working hand by hand. Both are with complement each other thing, right? And we are talking to a database. Databases, we are going to learn the Mongo. So this is a black box for us, Mongo, right now. But we know the Express, we know the React. So can we integrate it? So it means our login will be get integrated with it. And there are plenty of challenges you will face when you're connecting it. Make sense, guys? So we need to connect with a database as well. But before it, we need to connect with a React as well. So I hope everyone understand. So if I'm saying as a backend developer, your responsibility is to do this thing. Your responsibility is to test everything with a Postman. That is the important thing. Once you are ready with a Postman thing, then you can correct it. Make sense, guys? So there are plenty of things is left on the Express, but the essential things I delivered because of the time. So the point is, if this thing we already understand, and give me the surety if you understand these things. So I am connecting both of the segment React client side with a backend side, server side. So React has a login page now. So it means no more we have the public folder. Because this node is acting. Node and Express is purely acting as a backend thing. So the whole responsibility of the backend developer is to get the JSON and give the JSON. Make sense? It will get the JSON and give the JSON. This is the whole responsibility. And what we are doing right now, we are doing the same stuff. It means we are getting the JSON. So we are getting the JSON from the Postman right now, but later on we are getting the JSON from a React, right? And we hand it over to the response, and the response will be coming up. Make sense? Guys, any doubt in your mind? So please raise, because this is the moment we are actually connecting these two things. And then with the last moment is we connected with the Mongo, right? That is the tomorrow planning. So it means once we connected with the Mongo, our whole application will work. So it means our login is actually working like a real world. Make sense? So any questions so far? So please raise. I hope everyone understand this thing. So far, now the point is I am going to connect this application with the React. So on the React side, nothing, we are going to do the fancy stuff because we already know the React stuff. So this is the actually become a MERN sort of application, right? It means the backend and the front end both are actually talking to each other. and it served the purpose. I mean, it served the purpose. So I just save everything. So what I'm doing, I just do Control C, and there are plenty of challenges you will face. It is not an easiest stuff, right? So the first time you are doing the handshaking between two different technologies. That's why I'm using a word, two different technologies, because Node is created by the Mozilla, right? Netscape, right? So it means Mozilla Netscape, you will say. So it means Mozilla is creating this node. React is created by the Facebook, two different technologies by two different vendors. And now we are doing the handshaking between the two different technologies. Now the point is, the first important point is we will just do cd dot dot, right? And I'm saying cd, and I will not cd, I will say create React app, and this would be a front end layer. So this is web app is what our backend layer. So I will say it would be a front end layer. So that's why I just named it front end layer, right? Or either I just named it as a client side layer, right? So I do create React app front end layer. So it will be generate a project. You already know this thing. So it is going to create this front end layer, and this front end layer we will design it here. We create a login page here on a component based good style way, and then it will talk to the Express. Now when we start talking to it, there are some challenges we will face. Once the login will work, then we'll do the token handling. Token handling means if I log in successfully, I move to some another pages. If I try to move to another pages, so you as a server, you need to remember me. You need to remember me who I am, right? So this is the only by using a token handling or session handling we'll use the word. Right, but first thing first, we need to first connect it. Then we can see the dream. It means how it will checking from the database, how to verify this user is correct, how the password encryption will be go. So plenty of stuff will become. But first thing first. That's why I'm connecting React with the Express, because we know the Express is going to send some output. Now it's talk to the React stuff. I hope everyone understand this. Now moving back, once it is taking some time to install, once it is get installed. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, Jatin is asking how we'll encrypt the password. So Jatin, the answer is we are not going to write any encryption logic. The brutal truth is if Jatin is going to write encryption logic, so Jatin can crack the software. Makes sense. Crack means Jatin know how to encrypt, so Jatin know how to decrypt. Makes sense. So for example, I worked for a lot of banks. So in banks, there are a lot of customer accounts, and because as a developer, I created everything, so I can able to access the database. If I am able to access the database, or some staff member is able to access the database, if open it and see the password, so that's why I encrypt it. But if I encrypt it, bank does not have impression. This developer is encrypted, so it already know the decryption logic. So any moment of time, he can decrypt it. Makes sense. So that's why we want to use something which is standard. So that's why we are going to use some library for encryption. That library is authenticated for encryption, and that never be decrypted. Makes sense. So it is only do encryption, it not do decryption. So now the question is how you compare your password. So the answer is encrypt. It means your password is encrypted. So and when your new password is coming, I mean when you log in it again, so encrypt compare with encrypt. So it never be decrypt. Make sense? Nirosha is saying why it is showing happy hacking. So it is just a message they have show you, because now you are going to build React application. So it is like Ritik also is saying it's just a welcome message for a developer, because now you can hack everything. I mean, hack means you can now write by your own way. That's why the word is called hack they have used. So here I am just to go to the CD and front end layer. I am here, clear it, ls it, npm start it. Right. So it means now the front end layer is up. Makes sense. Back end is right now down, but we are at the end we are going to run both of them. So front end is layer is right now it is going up. Here it is. Now we start with something called login page. So now we move to the front end layer, and the front end layer src here it is app.js. It is here. Okay, cancel it. I just cancel it and I omit these things, right? Makes sense. So this is our login section would become first. So I will do src make it something called components, and I just make it something called containers, right? And inside the containers, I will just name it. Let's say I start with something called. So at the end, we will create a one basic application to understand everything. So the best part is when you're working for some project, my recommendation is always use a lot of technologies, and the business idea would be very easy. Technology idea is much be high, but the business idea would be very easy. So what we'll do, we'll create an application like a to-do list application where we can capture your to-do things. So I just make it something called to-do, and I just named it to-do.js, right? And inside the to-do.js, I want the login functionality. First of all, I want the login functionality. So I just go here and I say login.js. Makes sense. And in this to-do.js, when you use this to-do.js, so from here you specify something called export class, because I'm in this to-do. So I will specify export class, and to-do extends react dot component, and I will say render. So this is what I am writing on a React side, right? Import React from React. I hope everyone understands this thing. Already familiar with this thing. So I just create a smart one, constructor super. So Nitesh is asking how we can run both of the server. Just have a patience. We will do this stuff, right? Because we are at any moment we are going to run both of the server in a same machine. How we'll see later on. Because first of all, I just create this application. So in render, I will say it is going to return it, and it is going to return this div, and inside this div I will specify login, right? And this login must be here, and here let's say I say export class. I just make it right now, and we can divide it into smart and dumb later on. But first thing is we need to know how these things will be get connected. So I just say this thing and fragments. I use it here, and here I will say h2 login. Makes sense. So here I specify import React from React, and from to-do I call this login. So I will write it login, so it will be get auto imported. App.js want to use this to-do, so inside this div I will say it is going to call the to-do. Makes sense. So now to-do is there, and it is like this, like login is coming up. And good practices, we use get bootstrap, right? So in this get bootstrap.com, we will copy this bootstrap link and go back to something called index.html inside the public folder, and we'll integrate the bootstrap here, and from the login.js and from the to-do, right? From the to-do I will say class name is container, so at least it has the indentation. And from here I just specify class name, and in this class name I will say alert info. So the point to be remember is, guys, it will has this page. Where is our page? This one, na? So I just this one, right? So this thing is coming up, and here I will say text center. So it is coming like this. Now from here I need the login page design. So because I am right now in the hurry up, so because I just want to show you the connection between these two. So instead of making the dump and breaking down it, I just write it down it here first of all. Later on, we will break it down everything. So I will here I just write div, and inside this div I will write label, and inside this label I will say user ID, and from here I will write input, then I will write type text, placeholder, type first name here, not the first name, type user ID here, right? So I specify this thing. Now this thing, the front end will be going to talk to the back end. We will see. Now the point is, here is the class name, form group I specified here, and here I use a class name called form control here. I hope everyone understands this thing. Now from this div section, copy this, paste it, and here I will specify the thing called password here, and type password here, copy this, paste it, and here I specify button, and in this button I will say login. Make sense? So these things I have right now, right? So first of all, tested this thing, so it would be look like this. So 100% I will just go, it is in 100%, and in the btn I will specify class name btn primary. So the React stuff, I mean the front-end designing stuff we have done. Now the point is how we grab the user ID and password. And you know the thing is, I need to specify the event bind, so many stuff, but I just want to make your life very easy. So there is another point I want to highlight. This is a new thing to all of you, ref. So there is a thing called ref. Ref is like an ID for you, right? So the basic information is ref is like an ID, right? So if I specify ref equals to, and then I'm providing the reference name. So it is just a reference name. That's the correct word. It's a reference name, and I specify the reference name is user ID, and the reference name is like a password. Makes sense? Because the smart component has something called the reference, right? But in a newer version of the React 16.8 also has something called reference in a dumb components. But we will see this thing later on. But the point is, what is required right now, I just specify this props, super props. Makes sense? Now the point is, I want, when you click on a button, you have the user ID and the password. At least I want you have the user ID and the password. So when you click on a button, the point is you write on click, right? You specify the on click, and then you specify this dot do login. Suppose this is, and bind this. You already know why I use this bind this. Otherwise it has undefined, right? So it will bind with the current this. So it is bind with the current this. So I just use do login. I just go do login. We already discussed the bind function. So do login, and this do login I will use. I want to get the user ID and the password. So how to get the user ID and password? I use let user ID and this dot refs dot user ID. That's it. This is the magic of this. So this dot ref dot user ID, you get the user ID, and let password this dot refs dot password. So you have the user ID, you have the password. Now this user ID password, I need to pass it to whom? I need to pass it. So I just close this thing. I just go back to our web project, and the web project, who is going to receive this user ID password? React login. That's the important thing. React login is responsible to receive this thing. What is going to receive? It is going to receive user ID. It is going to receive the password, PWD. Makes sense? So the point to be important is go back to your project. First of all, front end project, go back to this thing, and from here you are in the not this one, sorry, front end, this one, right? And go back to your login.js. In the login.js, what you have the user ID, you have the password. You need to send both of them. This is the important, guys. You need to send both of them to where? You need to pass it to the server, right? So you need to pass this thing to the server. Now the question is how you're going to pass it to the server. You already know the server is actually talking through a postman, and this is a URL, right? This is a URL of the server. Right now the server is down, but at least we have the URL. If we have the URL, I just go here, I just go here, I just say const URL. This is a URL of a server, right? So I want to call to this server. Make sense? So this is the URL of the server. I want to call this server, and how you call it, you know the answer already. Fetch. Fetch is an answer to call it, right? So you are calling a fetch URL. So it means when you specify fetch URL, it is going to call a server. Make sense? So it is going to call a server, and it return what? It return you promise. You already know this thing, but there are some challenges I want to highlight. When you're doing this call of fetch, right? You are doing a call of fetch. So fetch has their parameters. So fetch has their parameters for it. So you best option is you specify const options of the fetch. What sort of options you need to specify? The first option is the post, because your call is post, not the get one, right? So you specify method post. That's the first important thing. Now you have the user ID and the password. So just kept it everything in an object. So kept it everything in an object. So how? The answer is user ID, password. You know this thing already, because this is what user ID is. What user ID has become a key, and the value, let's say Amit is a value, so it has become a value. Password is become a key, and it has the value. Makes sense? But the challenge is the server. The server is your user routes. User route says I would not receive PWD. I receive password. Right? So PWD. I receive PWD. You are passing password. That is the problem. So I move back to our code area. In this login.js, it is passing password, so it will create a problem. So I will say PWD. Makes sense? So user ID and then PWD password. This will be go. So user ID is already correct. How we identify this is correct? User outs. You will see the name is user ID. So there is no need to any conversion sort of thing. So I am moving back to this segment. So you have the password. Now you have the object. Now this object has to be converted into the JSON. It is not a JSON. It has to be converted in a JSON, and it must be the part of the body. It must be the part of the body of the post. So I will use the word called Json.Stringify. That is an important point. So when you use Json.Stringify, so you are saying just convert this object into the JSON string. Now it is ready to go. So one last thing is, because I am sending what I am sending JSON server. So it means I need to tell to the server I am sending a JSON. So if server I am sending a JSON, so there is a thing called headers. So these are the part of the configuration which I am suggesting. So headers, so it means this is a part of handshaking process. You can understand. So client says what sort of method I am going to call, what sort of data I am going to send you, and what would be the format of that data. So that's why I need to specify something called content type. So there is a thing called content type, and inside the content type, I will say application/JSON. Make sense? So it means I am saying, hey server, I am going to send you the data in format of the JSON, and I converted it, right? So along with the URL, you have the URL. Along with the URL, you will specify something called options. Make sense, guys? I hope everyone understand. So this is just a handshaking from the client side. So client says, handshake with me. I am sending according to you. So what sort of data you will receive? What is your URL? What sort of method you have? So think about, you have this URL, and if you just go back to user out, it is saying I am a post. And what I will receive a JSON. What I will give a JSON. Make sense? So that's why I done this kind of stuff. So this is the important stuff for all of you. So the point to be remember, when you click on a button, you will get this user ID and password. How you get it? Because you use a ref. There is a shorthand. When you have this user ID and password, you just put it in an object, and then you convert the object into the JSON, and then you will pass it to the fetch. So under the option, you have the data, you have the header, you have the method, all the formalities for the server. I hope everyone understands this thing. Now we are ready for a client side. We are ready for the server side. Now we just want to see the handshaking option. So it means when the promise is there, you already know the promise is there. So it means promise.then will be work, right? So what I will do, instead of getting a promise, you already know there is a terminology called await. Await says just wait for it. Await says just wait for it. It means if you have the data, the point number one is when you use await, it means you're saying I will wait for you. I will not make a async call. So I will wait for you. If you have the data, till then I will wait. So once you have the data, I mean you have the response. Once you have the response, I will get this, right? So there is another option. You can use a sync wait. So this has become a sync. And whenever you use await, you need to specify async. That's a mandatory thing. So when you have an await, you need to specify this thing. So it means now you have a response, and inside the response, what you will have? Inside the response, just check this out. Inside the response, you have the message. So you have the message. That's it. So can I say I have the message? And if I have the message, just write down this message. So I will say this dot state equals to curly bracket. It is empty. If I have the message, just store this message. So this dot set state and curly bracket, and it contain what? It contain the message in this key, and the value is response dot message. Whatever the message will become, I am going to print it. So I will say login, and with login print this dot state dot message. Make sense, guys? Any questions so far? Because plenty of coding we are doing. Any question in your mind, please raise. No questions. Significance for me is I have a pretty much good trainer. It means if no question is coming up, you understand everything. Or if no question is coming up, everything is get clear. Right? So you better know yourself. Is it what sort of clearance you have? Right? So if you have any query, it's an open discussion. You can raise your queries. Otherwise, intro ask the queries, right? And interviewer never answer. It just ask. Make sense, guys? Any other guys? Any query? So if like Nitesh is saying clear, so for Nitesh side, I understand it's clear. If rest of them saying I'm clear or not. So Dhruv is saying I think its second options are clear. It means all clear. Is this? So the clearance is, I mean, for the thing is, if you stuck anywhere, I will not push you to ask. You have yourself to push it, because it's for making your career. I am not making my own career, right? You are making your career. It means it's learning for you. Amit Srivastava is not teaching to the Amit Srivastava, right? Amit Srivastava know this thing, right? This is for you. Dhruv is saying I am going too fast. Is it? I am not going too fast, Dhruv. Believe me, what I am writing is, it is already we have done from 2 days before. What I am writing it here, it is 2 days before. If you recall it, nothing special I have written in this. Right? So in React side, I am not writing any new stuff. Only on the Express side is the newer thing. But on an Express side, it is this thing. Only the code I am typing is the fastest thing only. But the point is, you need to judge it only the concepts, right? Satish is asking, every time post data we have to write headers. Yes, because if you are doing post, right? So it means you need to specify what sort of the thing the server will accept, right? It is going to accept XML. It is going to accept JSON. It is going to accept what kind of data. Then it is doing the handshaking. So Akshit has a very good question. Akshit is asking, because I have done 2 servers. One is for the by default created by whom? It is created by your React, right? That's an internal. And one is created by whom? It is created by the express. So you have two options, Akshat. I just clarify why I done this thing. The point is what is the point in my mind? It is, if as a developer, Akshat, you are writing some express stuff, right? So your responsibility is to consume the JSON. Your responsibility is to produce the JSON. Now the best part is, because you are receiving JSON, you're responding the JSON. So what you can have Android application on some mobile, iOS application in a mobile, or either you use a Flutter for this because it has cross-platform. Either you have Angular, either you have React, either you have IoT, anything. Everyone is actually going to receive the JSON, right? So it means in your case, your Express is independent server, right? Independent server, and you can make React as also as an independent server, Angular as an independent server, Android and iOS is for the app, it is independent on the mobile, IoT is on the hardware side. So all of them are independent. Think about it, all of them are consuming this thing. But if I mix React inside the Express, so it never be independent. Makes sense? So that's why I divided in two categories. But you have a choice. You can mix React inside the Express. It is also possible. I will tell you just with a single command I need to write. That's it. Make sense? I hope, Akshat, you understand this thing. Makes sense? So Nitish is saying in login.js you pass a path for login. Will it be a relative path? Yes, of course you can create a relative path also, because but the point is it is actually hosted in some different server. So it needs the IP. Think about it, Nitish. If your server is hosted, I mean the node server is hosted on some cloud environment and React is hosted on some different cloud. So you need to specify the IP address and the port number. That's why I specify localhost 1234. The only cleaner way is you can place this, I mean this URL path, you can place it in some config file. You can place it on some config file. So you can create a config file. In config file, I can specify these paths, and whenever you want to change it, just change it on a config file. I hope you understand this point. That's why if your application is hosted on some different server, like in my case, I have one machine, so that's why I'm writing localhost. But suppose this node is running on some different machine, so I need to specify the IP and port. So I cannot use a relative path. Otherwise, it would not find it out. Make sense, Nitish? Shivendra, can we make a single option so we can reuse it? Definitely, we can do it. So Shivendra, anyway, we are actually this Ajax call, we are going to write it in some separate file, because I just want to make it easy, because some of them are also saying I'm going too fast. So I just make it the things very easy. That's why I'm writing everything in a one single file. But later on, I just segregate the code to make it more cleaner. But if I use it in an initial state, so people are more get confused, because the thing is why the people are get more confused, because I am dividing the code in a structured form. That makes confusion, right? But it is a cleaner way. Believe me, all the companies employees are working on this style. They are actually dividing everything in a cleaner way. So we are also doing it. We make our option in a one singular way. We even this fetch, we are not going to write it. We are write it only once in our project, and everyone is keep calling it. Makes sense? So we are actually doing like this, but just to make it the easy thing, that's why I write it here. Even I can create this login as a dump component, and that dump component will be talked to the smart component. That's why I not write it, because again people get more confused on this. That's why I create this login one, and I write the code everything here, right? Is it clear, guys? Satish is saying, how can we stop other person to use our node modules? It means just make it private, because in NPM we have an option of private modules. So you can make it private, or if you're using a local, so do not export it. If it is not export, no one can use it. I hope you understand, Satish. So far, guys, what we have done, we have the state, and the state is basically used to print the things. I mean, whenever the values get changed, it is get updated on a state, and when the state is get updated, the render will be run, right? So the render will be run. Makes sense? So the point is, you have the user ID, you have the password, you have the button click, and when you click on this button, it is picking the user ID, it is picking the password, and whatever the user ID password it is picking, it will be in the object, and when it is in the object, when it will be in an object, we are actually converted it into Stringify and we pass it. Make sense? Yep, Venkat, the team will be take care of uploading the videos. So because they already read your message, so they will upload it. Right. And one more thing, guys, is because when the concepts are more, because it has a lot of concept, lot of code it has. That's why it is make it complex. And when the things are complex, the job opportunities are more. Makes sense? Because complex things digest by very less peoples. Easy thing is digest by so many. So it means get ready your mindset to work harder on this. So it means when the videos are get uploaded, listen the video, note down the points. This is the way out. Listen the video, note down the point. Now code along. It means do not along with the video. It means seeing the video and writing the code. It is most like a typing the code, right? So you are not become a developer, you are become an operator. So if you want to become a developer, just understand, note down the points, and then write the code, and then test it out by yourself. Then you understand the crisp inside it. Makes sense? So Nift is asking form tag is not used because I'm not going to submit it anywhere. So I can use, I have the option either I can use form or not, because I'm not going to submit it because I'm doing AJAX call. So I'm making an AJAX call and I collect everything. If you just see this, I collect everything and put it in an object. So at the end, what you are sending, you're not sending a form, you're sending an object. Makes sense? That's the beauty of the AJAX call. You know, in the AJAX call, the page would not be get reloaded, only the data will be get reloaded. So it means I'm sending the data. What I'm receiving, I'm receiving the data. Make sense? So I'm not sending a page, I'm not receiving a page. Sending data, receiving data. That's why you're sending an object, you're receiving it. What? You're receiving an object at the end. Make sense? So whatever the object you will receiving, it is in response, and that's why you're writing response.message. That's why the page would not be get refreshed. That's a beauty. So far we have this thing. Now we need to just check this out. Is this hand checking is working? So how you will check this out? Just see, guys. The thing is, you have front end player, right? Front end layer, right? And in front end layer, just go and type npm start. So this will start what? This will start the React. So React server is get started. Right. So React server is get started. Here it is. Now just move back to this segment. Go to the terminal section, and in this terminal section, go to this node. One is you have. So just click on the plus. So you have the second terminal, right? In the second terminal, just go to CD web app. This is your web app. ls will show you what you have, and here I am also writing npm start. So now I have two different server. One is the node server is running in this node 2, and the node 1 running what? It is running the React one. Make sense, guys? Now the real problems you will face. Now the real problems is you have this localhost 3000. I will write Amit, right? And I need the password is coming like input type password. So I just go, because I just do copy paste of it. So I will write password, refresh it, Amit, login it. Let's see what is it coming. It is saying converting circular structure to JSON. Okay, why it is saying circular structure to the JSON? It is saying something. Just check this out. This .ref.user. So what I will do, I just check this out. Might be it get confused of one key and another is key value. Might be it get confused. That's why I just done this thing. Amit. So these are some handshaking issues. Still, it is saying what? It is saying where? Okay. Okay, I got it. The point is, when I use this .refs.userid, it is actually has something called ref, right? So Sunidhi is saying input type has ref password and have written password in this .refs. Is it, Sunidhi? No, it has, okay, it has the PWD. It has a PWD, right? This is a one problem. This is the one problem. But another problem, I just want to highlight why it is saying the circular, because circular still would be there. So if I close it, because it is actually not picking up the value, right? Circular is why it is saying. The reason is because when you read this, so you need to read it by dot value. So it will read the entire text box. So that's why it is saying circular. So that's why I use dot value. PWD we have, that's a typo, I mean the copy paste thing. So it would be a PWD, but the important point is we need to use dot value. So dot value will fetch the value and then it is handed over to this section, right? So from here, if I write Amit and I write Amit and then I do login, now nothing happened. Right click and inspect it. Now the point to be remember is I just go to the console section. This is the important, very, very important point to all of you. What it is saying server not allow you to access it. This is the important point, guys. So I just move back to the diagram and you usually see these kind of errors. What is it? This is called coarse error. Coarse means your Express server says somebody from outside. These are the outside world. Think about it. This is called the outside world for your Express. So Express says I would not serve the outside world. Makes sense? It would not serve the outside world. It says I only serve when you allow me. When you allow me, then I can serve. That is called the coarse request. This is called the coarse. Coarse means cross origin request, right? So we want something called coarse request. Makes sense? So we need to use something called coarse. So the easiest thing is to use the courses. Just go back to your project. Go back to your project. And now you have a learning course. And course is coming up here. Just go to npm.js. And course says if you use the course module, then it will be allowed to use, I mean, now your server services are get exposed. Makes sense? It is get exposed. So if you see, it is very, very popular and we need to install this thing. So it is allow us the course. So I just go here. So this is the handshaking issue. You are only see this kind of problem when you're doing the handshaking, right? And this is a one-time job which we are doing it. So it's the initial issues when we face it, this thing. So just go back to the clear and type here npm install course. The course will be get installed. Make sense? So once the courses get installed, because it's a thing which we need on a backend side. On a backend side, you need to just specify, guys. That is go back to your backend project. Backend project is what? Web apps. App.js. In this portion, you need to specify app.use, and before this, just type const course require course, right? So this is a module that is called cross origin script. It will allow. So I will say course. So I call it here, and the documentation is already there. So if you just see it here, it is saying app.use course, right? So I am saying I am allowed you server. The point is for the server, I am saying server, I allowed you. Now you can expose your services to whom? To the outside world. I hope everyone understands. So if you are a node developer, if all of you are a node developer and you want to expose your service to the outside world, you must need the course, right? Then your Express server services can be consumed by Angular, by Flutter, by React, by IoT, anyone. I hope everyone understands this thing. There is a course. So there is a predefined thing. There is a course. Even you can write it by your own. But later on the stage, I can show you how you can write it your own course. So I use a predefined one right now. So now the point is course is get set, and it is here, and it is prior to the user routes, because user route is going to send some data. So it must be the prior to the routes. That's why I put it prior to the routes. So I have the course thing. Now the point is I just go back to something called the front end. On the front end side, I also need to tell I want to talk to the server, but server is the course based. So on a server side, go here, and inside this, inside the option, you have something called mode. Inside the mode, you will specify the course. Make sense? So you are saying I'm talking to the server, but server is the course based server. Server is the course based server. So once I done this thing, so just go back to the first one. First one is your React one. Second one is the your node one. So I start the node one also. Now moving back to this thing, just close it. Then I will say Amit login. Let's see what is the problem. So it is saying something. It is saying a string ref user ID has been found within a strict mode. Nothing else. No problem at all. So it is just giving a warning. But the problem is it is not showing me the result. So how to check why it is not showing the result? The only thing is just go to the login.js, and in the login.js you have a response. Just print the response. What is coming up? Console.log. Just asking to the server. So response is comma response. So the response is coming up. So I am here in the response section, and I just go Amit login, right click, inspect, see the response. What is the response is coming? So response is there. So if you just go here, response is there, and inside it is saying response.body it has. All right. So it has a response. Now the point to be clear, guys, it is giving a response, but response has a JSON. So we know response.json, and we don't want to wait it. I mean, we don't want, it must be a callback fashion. So I will say let, and I will say data equals to await. Make sense? So I'm saying response.json, just give me the response. So whatever the response you have, I mean, whatever the JSON you have, just give me. So you have the data. So data is there, and I'm saying from the data.message. Make sense? So let's try this out again, just to clarify what sort of data it is giving. So it is saying response is message welcome with, and if you are able to see, it is saying welcome with, and it is quite faster, because that's the beauty of the React. So when I do raw, it is showing like this. If I write this, it is saying like this. So why it is very faster? Because it is sending the data, receiving the data. That's the beauty of the React. It would not reload the page again and again. I hope everyone understands this thing. Any question, guys, so far? So I hope everyone understand, when you fetch it, it will give a response. And what I want the JSON. So I say response.json. And when I'm saying wait, await says just wait for a result. Make sense? Just wait for a result. When the wait, it is waiting. So it means it is saying I could not do anything. Think about it. If you do anything, and you are doing a login and you want to move to some dashboard page, it would not be get possible. So it means you need a synchronized thing. The synchronized thing says just wait for a response of your login. When there is a response of your login, then move ahead. So same here. So it means we are waiting for a response. If the response is coming up, then we are checking. If the response is JSON, then the data is there. I hope, guys, you understand this thing. This is actually, we are correcting the MERN kind of thing. Only the M is missing. Mongo is missing. And tomorrow agenda is basically we are connecting with the Mongo. When we are connecting with the Mongo, it means it is complete login stuff. And believe me, once you actually done 2 or 3 kind of screens like this, you are very comfortable in this. Thank you, Niresha. So because Niresha, I hope you understand, this is actually the end outcome why we are doing this course. So this is the end outcome which actually we needed in this course. So when we are creating a project, we are actually building these kind of stuff. Right. So guys, any question you have? Satish is asking, when we are merging React and Express, then does we require course? So course is when, Satish, the point is, when you create something in an Express and some other one, I mean, either it is React, either it is Angular, either it is Flutter, anyone of outside world want to consume your service. So think about like Trivago is going to talk to the Make My Trip. So Trivago is a server side, Make My Trip is a server side. They both want to talk to each other on a server to server. So it must be a course. Makes sense. So if your services is exposed to the outside world, I mean, it's a public services to everyone. So it must be the course. I hope Satish, you got the answer. Why the course is needed. That's why it is called cross-origin script. It means somebody from outside your server is going to access it. You need a course. Any question, guys? Because now the doubt session I will take for next half an hour. So if those having doubts, so please raise. Yes, Dhruv, this is the real pain, right? As a developer, the real pain is to merging two different technologies, because two different technologies is like a two different plugs, and you are going to make a jugaad of making integration of these plugs. So believe me, this is pretty much easier because I work for that kind of technology which is not supported each other. So that's why now these moment of time we are working on 2020. JSON is quite popular, but when I started my career, there is nothing called JSON. You do not have even the good kind of XML stuff. So you need to write lot of stuff to do a handshaking between the technologies. But from my perspective, because I've worked from a lot of time, more than 15 years. So when I see this kind of technologies right now in this, and they have just some small chunks of things to do the handshaking compared to going forward. There are a lot of technologies. If you heard about, there's a technology called Corva. There is technology called SOAP services, XML integration, SX parser, DOM parsers. It's a horrible technologies to integrate it. But now these days, these things are very, very stable. So that the only point is you need to just remember the options they are given. Only this point. And once you practice twice or thrice, you are these things are pretty much easier things to use, right? Yeah, Corva is basically long time back in J2E. But now the things are pretty, because technologies are very, very mature. So that's why the things are pretty much easier to, and it is very much convenient to integrate it. That's why the pain is very less right now. But you all are new, because most of the time we are learning some technologies in the college. So right now we are doing a lot of stuff and a lot of coding. That's why it would be for all of you, it must be some overdose kind of stuff. But we have, if you understand, we have a small chunk of time to complete a lot of stuff, right? That's why the video recordings are there, right? So it means if you stuck somewhere, so you can just view the video recording, understand the concept, come up with your doubts. That's why the half an hour the doubt session are there. That's why the WhatsApp group is there. You can ask the doubts there. So lot of things. It's like this, right? So you can use those things, and then you can connect everything. So Akshat is asking something: how to make Express API secure from access from anyone, like authentication. So this is a very good question, Akshat. Again, this we will take care once we connect with the database. Because database is basically used to authenticate. Once you authenticate, I will give a token. I hope you understand this thing. So it means once you are authenticated, then you have a token. But we have not authenticated yet because we don't connect it to a database. That's why I just park your question, and I will take it your question in a next section when we do the Mongo thing. Right? In a Mongo thing, we will actually first authenticate it yourself. Once you get authenticated, then we will use the token based systems. Then those client who having a token can talk to us. Makes sense? So we will see this thing. Okay. Next question is, what is code behind artificial intelligence? If you put this in our tic-tac-toe. So Ritik, I think for AI kind of stuff, if you are because I am not belongs to the AI kind of stuff, but as per my development knowledge, if you want to build AI kind of intelligence to this. So you can use, if you uh, heard about the thing in a data structure that is called backtracking kind of stuff, you can use it for having more permutation and combination for tic-tac-toe game. So you can use a backtracking concept for this to find out it behave like an AI. It means when you do a cross, so computer will doing a recursive call and do the backtracking stuff there, and then they can figure it out which place I need to place a zero across. This is a one way, or either, because why I'm using a backtracking, because it would be a recursive call and it is keep calling and then checking what sort of permutation or combination I have. You can use this kind of feature, right? Or either you can put up, you can create a matrix behind the scene, and on a matrix you can just traverse it. I mean, if I place a cross, so you can just keep checking it on matrix, right? And then you can find it out if this thing is working or not. I hope, Ritik, I answer your question. Thank you, Dhruv, for compliment. Thank you, Triveni, for a compliment. Thank you, Keshav, compliment. So, Nirosha, can you please tell interview-based questions? Yes, of course. I will tell you, but the thing is, Nirosha, the thing is, in this course, we have the stand of the things, right? But telling you, the MERN stack is having a lot of things, because if I taking a full-fledged batch of MERN stack, it will take a lot of time to complete, because it has a lot of stuffs, right? So interviewer can ask any kind of question, because even in JavaScript, if I'm talking about the JavaScript is a pretty much depth inside it. It's just a kickstart you have, and I just align everything which is actually working for your course side, right? Makes sense. So that's why I incorporate everything which is actually work for your project making and for this plenty of time. But believe me, if I take the JavaScript only, so it will take a lot of time. That's why I can share a lot of intro questions, but the thing is how you can aware of all the answers, because you know the things. So the point is, if you are going for on-campus sort of interview, I am recommending work for your aptitude reasoning, communication, and work for your core subjects of your college, like the DBMS, operating system, and the data structure and algorithm, networking, these kind of stuff. But if you're going for off-campus interview, off-campus means you're looking for some MERN stack development internship or a job, then they actually want you have the crisp knowledge of everything. Makes sense? Because they actually hire you for that position. This is the difference between on-campus and off-campus. Because on-campus is not primarily target for particular technology. They just, because companies want to hire the people who are much disciplined in the college and they have the good essential knowledge of these things, the core subjects of the CS or IT. So they are drilled down on a DBMS data structure side, or algos side, or the networking side, SQL sides. So they drill down on this because they know you learn these things on your college. Makes sense? So they're just picking up those things. But when you're talking to the face-to-face round, so you can showcase these things on your on-campus. So you can showcase these things. So these would be the added advantage. If, for example, if five guys are going to selected on the face-to-face round, but if you have a project, so you have an edge. So you have an edge for this. I hope you understand this thing. So my point is, focus on the project and put this project on a Git, and then you can show this thing. Right. Nirosha asking from where I learn. I'm always referring the documentation part. So I learn most of the thing from the Node.js official website, React official website. That is pretty much good for all of you, because now you all are aware with the technology. You have the jargons now. You can understand functional programming. You understand the asynchronous programming. You understand the promises funda. You understand the callback funda. So you have at least have the jargons now. You can talk to some technical guy. That's why you can understand the documentation now, right? So you can. It is not ending up of your journey. It is just a starting up of your journey, right? So that's a starting of your MERN journey. Make sense? NIFT, we will do the form validation in the project time because we are integrating database connectivities there. Token handling would be we use, and then we can use the validation. Validation is a much easier thing because there are plenty of predefined things. Nitesh is saying for developer if else is like machine learning thing because we are not working on the data. So Bhavya is asking for please upload intro question video. Intro question videos I hope you have in my channel, so you can I have the intro questions videos there, so you can go there and learn the intro questions. Even I am planning to add some more questions also there. And Bhavya is asking how to prepare for competitive programming. Competitive programming is a sports, right? Competitive programming is a sports, and if you are, because it is not entirely for the job purpose, it's just to manage for the sports. So my suggestion is learn the data structure and algorithm. Prefer way is use lead code, use HackerEarth, HackerRank, CodeChef. These are the place for this. So learn from these places and at least solve 3 to 5 questions daily, right? So it would be your habitual way to solve 3 to 5 questions daily. In lead code, around 1300 or 1400 questions are there. So if you solve most of the questions, you will actually take 1 year of time to become a competitive programmer. Plus also go for CodeChef challenges. Also go for some lead code challenges. So solve those challenges there. So once you solve these kind of challenges, you have a good rank, good reputation there, right? But the point of view, if you are looking for the competitive, so your goal is basically to become a competitive programmer. So there is a difference between a competitive programmer and the developer. Developer is like a person who is actually doing a stuff. A developer is a person who is actually doing a stuff. The stuff is what? The stuff is like we are integrating so many things. So it means our responsibility to build something which is usable for the end customer. That is a developer thing. The competitive programmer is basically work on a sports. So it means the sports get open, the challenges get open, and you need to solve the challenges at some moment of time. So the time span is given. So it's all about the target. So if your target is to go on the sports mode, right, or for a job prospect. So for the job prospect, the data structure, algorithm knowledge, and lead code problem solving is much good. So you solve a lot of lead code problems, so you will get placed anyhow. Plus you have the knowledge of the some technical stuff like MERN stack or Flutter, whatever needed in the market, right? So it's all about how you're looking up for your future. It means as a competitive programmer or as a developer. Makes sense. So these are two different things because the students are mostly involved either on the competitive side or either on the development side. But what I'm saying, you have to be involved in the two sides. Both of them is highly important. Not only the one thing is get important for as a developer perspective. So Abhishek is saying if I'm going for an on-campus, so I think Abhishek, you take it wrongly, because if you are saying your goal is not to get placed, your goal is to become a good developer. That would be the goal. Because if you learn only the college subjects somehow and you get placed somehow, so how you will get performed? But if you know in a college time you learn some new technologies, so your mind is actually trained according to the new technologies, new stuff. So when you get hired in a company, your responsibility is 9 to 6 job. You need to deliver some things, and the training time is pretty much high. It means they will give you 9 to 6 training, and they will complete everything in a 9 to 6 mode. I mean, they will complete in a 20 days, 30 days time. So it means the training is like a tsunami for you, right? So the best point is in the college time, you at least learn new technologies, new jargons. So when you are actually get placed, so when your seniors are teaching you, right, so you will understand clearly, you perform betterly. So it means twice role is needed. That's why I'm saying focus on the college subjects. That is required because they will ask the college subject as well for the on campus. But the plus thing is if you worked on the project, so you can showcase on a face-to-face round. So your chances is much higher because you have the projects. Think about it. If five students are get on a last round, and they all have same sort of knowledge, but one student have a project, so it has an edge. So knowledge is same, but it has an edge because it worked on a project. And at the end, company knows, it means a recruiter knows, at the end, the student is going to work on the projects, right? It is not going to solve some lead code problems. Make sense? So at the end, you know this thing. I hope you understand. So Keshav is asking, which technology should I learn as a fresher, J2E or MERN? So if Keshav, your interest is more on a Java side, so I am recommending not go to the J2E side, go to the Spring and Hibernate side. This is recommended. J2E is a dinosaur in the market. It means it is gone. No one want to learn the J2E. So that's why J2E is called winters, and winters are hard, right? That's why the Spring, they have created something called Spring. Spring is easier. That's why if you're looking for some Java stuff, I have recommended learn the Spring framework and the Hibernate. That is a good thing in the market. So Nitesh is saying the thing is, because Nitesh is working on some MNC, so he's saying the skill set much matter, because if you do not have the skill set, you cannot be sustained in a corporate, right? So Bhavya is asking which language opt for competitive. My suggestion is go for a C or C++, right? Because C and C++ is a hardcore coding for a competitive purpose, right? Keshav is working on Spring, Maven, and Kafka. Good. So that is better one. So if you are working on a Spring, so it means the point is make your skill set on Spring Boot, and there is a thing called Spring microservices that is hugely required, and Spring MVC. These three things is must have. And also on the database side, read some ORM, that is Hibernate, and there is another thing that is called JPA. So if you learn this Hibernate and the JPA and the Spring and Spring Boot and Spring microservices, and if you have a one cloud in your hand, either on AWS or that thing, so that your future for the MNC is great. Right. Any other question, guys?
Sir, can you repeat जो आपने language के लिए कहा था competitive programming की? I missed, मेरा network issue था.
Okay, I am suggesting C or C++ because that is hardcore for the competitive thing.
So जैसे Python है, तो Python dynamically typed होती है, तो उससे कोई advantage मिलेगा?
But the thing is, your goal is, if your goal is competitive, so I am suggesting according to the competitive, because most of the competitive is the hardcore programmers. Hardcore programmers need something which will go internally because they want to work on the bitwise things. They want to use on the memory side. So that's why the C and C++ is hugely recommended. But Python has a lot of libraries. So if you're doing the Python stuff, so most of the problems you will solve it by a library. But I told you competitive is something called a hardcore coding. Instead of using a lot of libraries, you are actually writing by your own. So C, even if I'm talking about the C has very less libraries compared to C++. So if you are working on a C, it is hardcore coding. Makes sense? That's why I'm recommending C and C++. I hope you understand. Any other question, guys?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So Rani is asking which language should be preferred for web development. If I'm talking about 2020, I'm recommending the MERN stack. That's a very good thing because Node is in the boom right now. And if you just look up on the internet, plenty of bigger giants is right now working on the Node. So that's why Node is very highly paid right now. So if you just go to the Naukri.com and if you look up for the Node.js developer jobs, it is highly paid right now. React is hugely successful in the front-end development side. If I am talking about the React and Angular and Vue, so React is much popular right now in the market. JavaScript is still the popular. So MERN stack is the #1 choice for the web development. Right. So as a web development perspective, I'm saying. Any other question, guys? So guys, I think no more questions are coming up. So I'm going to wind up the things, and I will upload the code. So you will get the code from there. Thank you, Bhavya, for compliment. And we will meet tomorrow, and we will learn the Mongo stuff, and we will connect. We will start with the same application, and we will connect it to the backend. Right.
Sir.
Yep.
Sir, tell your YouTube channel name, please.
It is already written by someone in a chat.
Brain Mentors Private Limited.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
So Git sir, does GitHub support React? GitHub is something for repository drift. So you have I mean, you have the repositories there. I mean, React is published their code on a GitHub, right? So anyway, React is the bigger one thing. So GitHub is something a repository, and it is take over by the Microsoft. So if Microsoft has a plan to help us, the Facebook, then it would be. I hope you understand my point. It's all about the business thing. Thank you, Keshav. And you said we can host website on GitHub. Okay. Yes, we can host but the thing is, if I can host the website which is only for the client side, but the server side support does not have. So you can think about on React side we can host it, but the Node side we cannot. For the Node side, because of the server side